Yeah,
starting.
I would love, yeah. My big rock, as we say in the Leader in Me, is to get the first dollars coming in. So that's kind of where I am, but yeah, I would say February would be in my mentally, I'd be thinking we'd have some type of, maybe a sketch to bring you guys, or we could sit down and look at how that fits in the big scheme of everything.
That's great. How many kids did you say was on the waiting list?
Typically, there's around 20 that sit on that waiting list. And again, yeah, I wanna see how seamless the, yeah, I wanna see how seamless the funds coming in really are. Because again, I think the families that probably need it, we need to make sure that they have an easy avenue to apply for these funds. Because the way it was explained initially was all 32 kids, every month, something, they have to do something. It's hard to get some people to do things sometimes once, let alone to do it 36 weeks in a year. So I gotta figure out how seamless that can be and how much that falls on somebody like a Shelley Britton or myself or Melissa, so.
And you bring up a good point on planning, and the other part of that planning is that we cannot control those costs for that preschool, special ed, and those costs are gonna go up. So I think as we plan to try to cover this cost for the regular special ed, we're gonna have to make sure we have adequate funding to take care of the rest of it. Because we're getting inquiries, I think we can get today about it, and we have no choice on that.
Anything else on the pre-K finances? Any other? Things in the work session?
I don't know if this fits, but I'm gonna bring it up. As we talked about that balance that's left on the projects, we had talked about our next step is to get a soccer field. Where are we headed with that? What do we can't do the soccer field separately, but where do we go to figure out how to bridge the two? You know, AstroTurf may not be on the table, but putting it on the football field may still be in some capacity. So I don't know, I just wondered if when we're gonna make some sort of a decision with that. I recognize that we have decisions to make for next year on that money, but I think that's something that's kind of looming out there. Just
What
kind
are
of
you
curious.
saying?
Well,
Soccer.
Soccer was already approved,
Right.
and we've already hit the barrier of not really being able to do the soccer field as it is. So I guess I was just trying to figure out, you know, do we literally say we're not doing that now, or do we start thinking about what options do we have, and is there a longer term plan to make that field usable? Or
Anybody, I don't know if there's any soccer parents here or not.
what it was,
How many home soccer games do we have a year?
about half of them.
Yeah.
There's probably 10,
I was gonna say probably,
10 to 12 probably, or if they haven't changed much.
and, you know, there's some tourneys occasionally, and
Now that we used to have more because we had girls and boys, but we didn't have enough girls out this year, so they went back to co-ed. So,
And night games will play next year.
I just wonder about, we're just throwing this out there, I know the football people will probably have a cow over it. Why don't we schedule some of our soccer matches on the football field this year, give it a try and see how everything works? I thought Kevin told me that they made allowances and let you do that.
If it was turf, because then it would be level over in the track. Right now, it's not level, you got the ditch there.
Yeah.
yeah, it does have a cone or a crown, yeah.
But as it sits now,
Okay.
it's not regulation size.
Mr. Pletcher mentioned that idea of looking, as you look at the bonding, that you also look at your long-term capital needs. And so I think that's exactly where you're at. So I think this spring, you need to look at all those things and you know, in that 5.1 million that performance services we're recommending for phase two, how much of that is something that really needs to be done, and how much of it is something that can be postponed.
I think
Finish the HVAC controls and stuff.
Yeah.
Where does that fall into
Kind
the
of in the middle there, too.
whole scheme of things? This performance services, another $5 million that they're,
It depends on how you structure, how much you borrow on the GO bond, and how we structure that repayment. If you want to issue another lease rental bond, what I would probably recommend is maintaining your payment at least through 21. So you basically have a little, well, you could issue it in 21. What I'm saying is you get a little operations behind you that you know where you're at, you know where your reserves, how you're trending, how operations, cash flow looks, and then basically make that decision. Right now, with this illustration we have, you wouldn't issue that until 22 right now. So you could shorten that up. If you wanted to leave room to actually issue it in 21, you could do that. It all depends on the timing and what the needs are and when you want to address them. And that's really the driving force.
with the cash, it's not cash, I guess, but the amount that's still in that, our current bond.
Yes.
Would you say it'd be a benefit to us to look at what we would be pulling out of our capital projects now, and if we could utilize some of that to keep cash reserves, to build up our cash reserve?
And I can't,
Versus-
we'd have to take a look at the scope of that project
Right.
to see what was included, because those capital expenditures would have to be within that
Right.
parameter, that scope.
Like we talked about the controls, we got more controls, and that was
Yeah.
part of the project, the roof, the next
Yeah.
section of the roof, was
Yeah.
part of that project.
Yeah.
We could potentially, and
You
that
can-
way it'd keep cash to us, build up that reserve quicker,
Yeah.
right?
You could take a look if you've got items built in, you're gonna be paying out of the operations fund that are capital items, yes. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's exactly the same, from what I,
And I'm gonna digress a little bit, I'm gonna throw something out there on your superintendent search. What you could do with the university group, and there's other groups out there, you could interview them. And basically find out what their services are, what the estimated cost. And the only thing I'll say with them is there's more structure, because they provide questions that I think helps the board go through the process. And they kind of tell you questions you can ask, questions you cannot ask. And it's just, they're there kind of overseeing everything, the process. They don't participate in the actual interviews, but it'd be one thing, it doesn't cost you anything to call them in for an interview. And then that might help the board find a direction that you wanna move forward with.
We used administrative services the last time,
Yeah.
worked really well.
And they're good, and,
And I think it was 5,000 or 6,000.
But yeah, we interviewed, I think, some of the
Yeah.
university people we had.
Ball
to come in.
State, professor, I'm not.
anything else? Hearing none. Motion to go to the work session,
So moved.
second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to adjourn the work session. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? It is adjourned.
you know, take a little break.
Yeah, let's take a short